Hello my dears and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today I have another book talk video to share with you guys. Today we are talking about The Truth About Ben and June by Alex Kiester. I just picked this one up kind of on a whim. I was intrigued by the title. I liked the colors. I love the blues and the blacks and the greens. I think that's really aesthetically pleasing. And so I just kind of browsed through, flipped the pages, and I saw somewhere that it was kind of like a mix between a love story and a thriller. Now, having read it, I can tell you it's to my mind not a thriller at all, which is fine, but I just found like that wasn't quite what this is. But that being said, I did enjoy it. I gave it, I think, a 4-star on Goodreads. So let's just kind of get on into it. I'll give you a bit of a brief synopsis and then I'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and we'll just kind of talk about this book. So Ben wakes up one morning and finds that his wife of nearly a decade, I think they've been together 7 or 8 years, she's gone. Their bed is empty. What makes this especially weird is he gets up. At first, he's not too alarmed. What wakes him is their crying 3-month-old. So he gets up, he kind of, he grabs the baby, he starts looking around, and he can't find her in the house. And he's like, okay, that's weird. He looks out, and her car's there, so maybe it's nothing too serious. He thinks maybe, she wanted to get out and get some air, but in his heart he knows that's not it. Because I think at this point it's like March, so it's still pretty cold, wintry weather out. I think they live in like New York or New Jersey, somewhere like that. So, early March would be chilly. He's holding the baby, he's walking through the house, and he realizes eventually that from their closet, her suitcase is gone. So now he's like, where is she? The car's here, the baby's here, suitcase gone. So he, of course, starts texting her. He starts calling and texting her friends and acquaintances and associates so he's wanting to see if she's with them, but also not wanting to raise any alarms, because he feels like it would be embarrassing to call people and tell them that his wife's gone, and if she packed a suitcase, she probably went willingly. So he begins a journey to try to find what happened to June. And from there, it's been a mystery figuring out what happened to her. And we get 3 different sort of perspectives for the book. We get Ben in the present. We get flashbacks to when they first met, and then it progresses a year, like every chapter or 2 when we go to that perspective. And then the third sort of point of view is pages from June's journal. So we're getting Ben in the present freaking out in the past. So what I will say is, if you enjoy a good sort of messy domestic situation book, I would check it out. It looks at a lot of different things. It goes into a lot of different topics. Everything from love and marriage to grief, suffering through the grief of losing a parent. It goes into being a motherhood and what that means, what sacrifices need to be made, and it looks at whether or not it's okay to feel and express guilt and regret for the things you had to give up along the way to become a mother. And I think that's an interesting look at things. I always like when books sort of take an honest look at parenthood and motherhood and what that means and what that looks like. you know, because no matter how in love with your baby you are, or how, you know, happy you are to be in that role, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And it's okay. It's okay to have feelings that don't align with what we feel like we're supposed to feel, especially at first. So there you go. If you want some spoilers, now's the time to stay. I was gonna say, if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to leave. Are you gone? Okay, let's get on into it. So Ben kind of goes on a hunt trying to find out where June is. Eventually he talks to one of her friends, or sort of ex-friends, and she springs on him, your wife was having an affair. And he's like, okay, what makes you say that? And she was like, well, I know she was, because she was having it with my husband. And at that point I was like, oh, what? Just like, I'm sure Ben was. And so that kind of threw me. As time goes on, we find that that's not the case. She was just reading into friendly exchanges that her husband and June had had. As time goes by, he's digging, trying to get more and more information. We learn a lot about the death of her mother, June's mother, from cancer. June was was a dancer, as was her mother. And right before June got pregnant, she landed the lead role in a huge musical that would have been really a career-defining role for her. She lands it, you know, rehearsals are about to begin. And like, when I say career defining, like, she's been working towards a role like this for like 25 years. And the whole time I was reading that, though, when they mentioned that whole 25-year thing, it got me thinking, like, isn't that a bit old for a ballerina to just be breaking through? I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about ballerinas, aside from the fact that I wished I was one when I was a child. I still have. I still have sadness that I was not put in ballet when I was a child. Anyway, so she lands the role of a lifetime. She finds out that she's pregnant. She goes to Ben and she's like, what are we gonna do? And he's kind of like, what do you mean? What are we gonna do? I'm so excited for this baby. And so she kind of puts her own feelings aside and is like, okay. She goes and tells them, I have to decline the role, which you just know broke her heart, to go and start a family with Ben. So through the journal entries, we're seeing how after the baby's born, she's really struggling to bond with this child. And not only bond with the child, she's also struggling to sort of make peace with herself about the situation that she finds herself in, her new life. And she's just grieving her mother so hard. And as we're piecing it together, as we're reading her journal entries, Ben's piecing it together along with the help of one of her friends, that June is probably suffering from a severe case of postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety or psychosis, something like that. And she is really, really struggling. Towards the end of the book, Ben figures out in his mind where she has gone. And that's home to the state her mother grew up in, which is Texas. You know, June grew up in New York with her mom, but her mom grew up in Texas. And so Ben's like, I know where she's gone. She's gone home to her mother's hometown or home area. And he ends up finding her. And he ends up finding her just in time. She comes to the realization on her own before he gets there that she doesn't want to do harm to herself. But that was the intention of going there. But she comes to the decision on her own that she does not want to harm herself. And then he arrives immediately after, and they have a long night of a whole week. Actually, they decide they're going to stay a week, because one of the things that was really not helpful to June was that Ben was working exceptionally long hours at his job as a lawyer, and they just had no time together, and she was doing literally everything with the baby in the home, and it was just pushing her with what she was already dealing with the postpartum, just to her breaking point. So now they're spending a week together without the baby, just the two of them, reconnecting, talking, apologizing to each other for the things they've done wrong, and you know, confessing to each other the feelings that they have. And then the book comes to an end with you really feeling like things are going to be okay for Ben and June. And that's the truth about Ben and June. I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. I only gave it a 4-star on Goodreads because there are a couple times sort of in the beginning half of in the beginning of the second half of the book that I thought it kind of lagged a little, but I loved the beginning, I loved the premise, and I did love the ending, the way it all came together. And normally I don't love a happy ending. I like my books a little darker with not so many happy endings, but I was glad this one seemed like one where it was fitting to just have a happy ending. And I enjoyed it. So there you go, you guys. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the truth about Ben and June. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read it, and if you have, what you thought of it. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again real soon. Bye.